Hey everybody, I think we're going live again. We had some small technical difficulties a minute ago. I think those have been all ironed out now. I'm also using some new software here, so bear with me in case anything goes wrong. I apologize in advance, but thanks for tuning in today. We got a few people tuning in here. Hi, Mom. But this video, this Facebook Live, is really going to help you if you have a tax problem, if you have an IRS problem. Of course, if you don't have an IRS problem, you're welcome, of course, to watch. You'll probably get something out of this too, but this will especially be important if you have a current IRS problem at hand. So let's jump right into this thing here. Make sure this works. All right. Let's see. I got my stuff off here. All right. Who am I? I'm Travis Watkins. I'm the owner and senior attorney of Travis W. Watkins Tax Resolution and Accounting Firm. We have offices in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Also have one in Dallas and the Norman area. We do nothing but IRS resolution, as it says there. And what that means is tax preparation, audits, bookkeeping, or what we refer to sometimes as CFO services. In other words, being like your financial analyst if you're a small business owner. We do offers and compromise. You probably heard us talk about this before. Offers and compromise are the IRS's settlement program that they have. Sometimes you can settle things for pennies on the dollar. We do all those types of things here and more. Again, if you have a tax problem, you may be watching this here today. Our clients include typically entrepreneurs, small business owners, employees that don't take out sufficient withholdings. Those are the typical types of wage earners that we represent here at Travis W. Watkins Tax Resolution and Accounting. And that could be especially important this year as we move into the new tax, Trump's new tax code, really, because there were a lot of folks that we noticed about mid-year that didn't have their withholdings correct and had to adjust those. And if you didn't adjust those things, it may come as a shock to you that you might be owing rather than saving a bunch of money, as that new tax program was touted to do. You may have some unfiled tax returns. Typically, our clients have at least one or more unfiled returns that need to be filed before the IRS will even talk to them. You may be divorced or facing a tax crisis as a result of your spouse's poor financial decisions. That's another characteristic that a lot of our clients have. You may be about to be getting married, and you or your spouse's poor financial decisions are about to impact your marriage. We did a article, interestingly enough, not too long ago in the Oklahoman about a client that had this very situation where his wife-to-be found out about his tax problem a couple of weeks before they were going to get married, and she put the brakes on the marriage and said, hey, not until you get that tax problem figured out. So that's another characteristic of potential tax problems there as well. You may have just been visited by an IRS revenue officer or gotten a levy notice from the IRS. And who are the revenue officers? Those are the bulldogs at the IRS, the collection arm of the IRS. And they show up at your home or place of business or both. They may talk to your employees if you're a business owner and want to talk to them about typically payroll problems in a business or things that happen when you draw a revenue officer. Not always. There are plenty of situations where a wage earner who owes enough may be draw a revenue officer, someone in person from the IRS that comes out to see you. And those folks are typically pretty aggressive pretty pushy folks, and they want stuff like immediately. And people ask me, well, how do I know if I've got a revenue officer on the case? It's kind of like, how do you know if you've got a flat tire? I would say it's you'll know, because these folks do make actual contact with you and come to your home or place of business. You may be carrying crippling IRS penalties and interest is another characteristic of a tax problem. The IRS penalties and interest system used to be meant as a slap on the wrist, make sure that you filed and paid on time. Now it can be used as really like a submission hold to, bring you to your knees as far as paying and filing if you haven't done so in some time. And if you're watching this, you may be motivated to end your IRS problem for good. That's our typical client that comes on board with us. They are motivated to put an end to this problem, and that's what we're here for. All right. Well, let's switch back here real quick. All right. Hopefully you can see me now. A lot of folks ask us from time to time what makes us different from other tax resolution companies or other tax resolution firms. What makes us different is that we fix tax problems, not just the ones that you have now, but we fix them, for good into the future, which, may not necessarily be something that tax resolution companies might want to do, because folks that get into tax problems tend to get into more tax problems, and then, they can become recurring clients. However, we like to see folks across the finish line and to keep those folks out of IRS trouble into the future. Now, I used to what I call snipe tax problems. In other words, like a sniper, we used to take out years of tax problems, or one tax year of not paying, but certainly blocks of years of tax problems, and just solve the ones that were there in front of us. And that was great. We had a lot of success with that. But there are some problems with that approach. First of all, tax problems take a while to solve. The IRS isn't quick about anything except levying your bank account whenever you have owed them for some period of time. They move pretty quick on those types of actions when you owe them money. But the typical tax problem itself does not usually get fixed, in a matter of weeks or months, sometimes even. And while we were in the process of getting those tax problems solved, why taxes keep coming due for that current year, and that was presenting some problems. It does present problems when the client isn't completely getting their quarterlies, for instance, paid. Quick side note, things like the IRS's offer and compromise program require the taxpayer to be in compliance during the whole process, that they are considering your settlement offer in the offer and compromise process. And so people were, I guess the IRS calls it snowballing, collecting more and more debt through the process, and that was really just shooting people in the foot. And it does happen. You get behind, and it does create like a snowball effect. But we've got to keep people out of harm's way, not only during the process but into the future. And then as I considered these things, it really hit me like a ton of bricks. I was running a Facebook ad, kind of ironically here, as kind of meta life situation, that was saying there are really only 3 ways to solve a tax problem. something like you can do nothing about it and hope it goes away, which is what most people do, or you can just go ahead and let the IRS have its way with you, so to speak. Let them levy, let them harass you, file liens on your property, things like that. Or you can come up with a plan to pay them less, possibly through the Offer and Compromise program, or pay them in installments through the IRS's installment agreement program. And then some wise guy put in the comments of that ad, or you could just pay your taxes. And I think he was being kind of a wise guy, but I got to thinking about it. That really is the end all be all full relief package for people, is not to just get out of a year or 2 or 10 of tax problems. The IRS actually gives quite a bit of leeway to folks that are making progress getting back into the tax system, and ultimately that's the game plan. As I mentioned, compliance is required for all the programs that the IRS offers in the way of